All right, welcome everybody to the press conference this week. We're joined by head coach David Shaw. Before coach gives his opening statement, just a reminder to use the raise hand tool to ask a question. Coach, go ahead and give an open statement.
Thank you. Good to see everyone. Excited that we're 1-0 right now. Came alive at different parts of that last game, offensively, defensively, a couple good things on special teams to win convincingly, but nowhere close to the standards that we set for ourselves. First and foremost, the ball security, both in our running the ball and in our punt return game. And those are things that have been uncharacteristic as far as camp goes. Guys have caught punts every single day and done a great job, made great decisions. We put them through a lot back there. Coach Gould works with those guys. Coach Alomar works with those guys. We've got a really good group. We'll put those guys back there again and expect better production. A couple of really good spots on the offensive side. Some areas of inconsistency, missed a couple things, drop pass, a couple of misses in the run game. Passing wise, probably about 3 or 4 plays in the pass game I'd love to have back, but those are all game one things that we think are correctable. The defensive side, missed a couple of tackles, not anywhere near what we had done before, so it's much better in that respect, but still, big quarterback, physical quarterback that we fell off a couple of times, which we know the type of player that we're playing this week at the quarterback position, that you better bring your feet when you get your hands to wrap around this guy. But all in all, defensively, really good effort. The defense got put in some really tough spots turnover wise, but they responded each time. But for us, really looking forward to being a better team week 2, really cleaning up a lot of our inconsistencies and getting excited to have another home game. So open up for questions.
Troy.
Yeah, Coach, from a developmental and an evaluational standpoint, what are some of the pros and cons of coming off of an FCS opponent in week 1, as opposed to facing a Power 5 opponent in week 1, heading into a high-profile conference opponent in week 2?
I think the biggest thing is that we were able to make some mistakes without it costing us a football game. I thought Colgate played really hard. They were physical. They didn't back down from us one bit, but they weren't able to take advantage of our miscues. Whereas we know a Division I opponent would take more advantage of those. So we were able to make some mistakes and live to fight another day, and hopefully grow from those mistakes. But that's the biggest difference. Any of those mistakes in a tightly contested game could lose a game for us. So hopefully we learned our lessons, especially when it comes to ball security. But that's the biggest difference now, is cleaning those up and getting ready for conference play.
RJ.
Hey, Coach, you've always been pretty adamant against making staff changes just to appease the masses, but I'm just curious, what did you guys change this year that you're kind of optimistic maybe already has had an impact and will have an impact this season?
Well, to say it briefly, I kind of said it a couple of times over the offseason. I started with me. I started with philosophy. Started with what principles I believe in: offense, defense, and special teams, and then overall. And then communicating with the coordinators. My views, getting their views, and then putting the scheme around that and what our players do well. So to me, that's the best way to go about it. If someone's not doing a good job, then yeah, I have no problem letting somebody go. But that was not the case. Like we didn't play well. We didn't do what we could do. And I think our volume and what we carried was too great. So reduced a lot of things we're doing in all 3 phases. Highly focused on the things that our guys can do well, and staying within our principles was, I thought, the appropriate course of action. And we had a great spring, had a great off season, had a really good training camp. I think we're more focused on what we can do and what we should do. We're a better technically sound football team right now than we were at any point in time last year. Our guys know what to expect and know how to do the things we're asking them to do. And I think that's going to bode well over the long haul for success of our program.
Steve,
And when
I'm sorry, go for it, RJ.
I was just gonna kind of switch gears a little bit. As an offensive guy, what stands out about a Lincoln Riley offense when you watch it? What is it that maybe he does that guys running similar offenses don't do as well?
I think this is a good combination of tempo, combination of running the ball with efficiency. They have some outside zones, some gap schemes. He's a big counter runner. And then matching your passing game with your running game. And then especially you give him a quarterback that's also a threat to run, just makes him that much more dangerous.
Thank you, Coach.
Steve,
Yeah, Coach, following up on that, what distinguishes Caleb Williams in your eyes?
And I'm gonna answer that question, and I don't want to be taken the wrong way, in that people always talk about the athleticism of the black quarterback, right? But the combination of his athleticism and his arm strength, it's rare that he can run away from you. He can run over you, but he can also stand in the pocket and make the big time NFL throws. So for me, it's that combination of his athletic ability and his decision making. There's really not much that he's unable to do. And I'll go one further to say, I don't know that these aren't the top two quarterbacks in our conference going head to head this Saturday in Stanford Stadium. I think as pure passers, they're both exceptional. I think as a runner, Tanner's underappreciated, but at the same time, I think Caleb is special there. We're talking about two guys that, when you watch them play, you see two NFL quarterbacks. So I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Thank you.
Ben.
Yeah, obviously kind of a new era for USC with Lincoln Riley and everything. I was just gonna get your thoughts on, is there anything you feel like you guys can learn from last year's game against them at all, having beat them? Or is this really kind of the whole kind of new look USC team and not much you can really take from last year? Just thoughts on that.
Yeah, there's not much to take from last year. Usually when there's a coaching change, you look at last year's film for personnel, and the personnel has been almost all overhauled. So 2 different schemes on offense and defense, actually 3 in special teams. And then, the personnel, different quarterback, different receivers, different running backs, secondary is different. The linebacking core is different, a couple different guys on the defensive line. So last year's film is not going to help us.
Peter.
Jumping into that shifted personnel, the Trojans have 33 transfers on their squad. What do you make of that in modern day college football, where it feels like it's almost a free agency game with so many players switching teams?
We have 1 transfer. It's a different era. I don't know in the long run if it's healthy or not. I'm in favor of student athletes having more freedom than they've had in the past, both through the NIL space and also through the ability to transfer. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to take a few years, I think, for us to really know what's good and what's not good about where we are. I am kind of a traditionalist to a certain degree, but not in such that I don't want progress. I really want progress. I love progress. But there's also the student part for me that's difficult, to where, would love for students to choose a university for more than just the sport, and to go through the ups and downs like we all went through in college, where sometimes you're going to have difficult days or a difficult season. And then you're better for it. You're in the last couple of years on that campus, and you have growth and all that, as opposed to, sometimes leaving a university because, I'm third string and I want to be first string, as opposed to, well, that's the university you chose to go to and you make the football work. So I'm not naive to why it's appealing sometimes to go from one place to another. I just don't know that it's always healthy, because one thing, especially with all these NCAA groups that I've been with, one thing that is a 1-to-1 correlation right now is the more people transfer, the fewer people graduate. And ultimately, as a fan of college sports, I love team sports. I love individual college sports, but I also love for these people to play those sports and walk out with their degrees and have more than just a professional athletic career to look forward to. So that's over time what I think is going to be interesting, because most of us, and not just talking Stanford wise, but most of us in college athletics have seen most of our college teams have a higher graduation rate than the general population of the university at a lot of different places. And I'd be interested to see if that changes now, especially in football and basketball, both basketballs, men's and women's, if those graduation rates start to plummet because there's so much transferring from a quarter school to a semester school, losing out on some credits, going behind. So ultimately, I want student athletes to participate in their sport and graduate. So that's, to me, the biggest thing we need to look at over the next few years.
Kevin.
Coach, what stood out to you most from USC's week 1 performance against Rice? And have you talked with Mike Bloomgren at all, kind of either leading up to that Rice USC opener or since the game, about USC and kind of what they pose now?
Well, I mean, the takeaway is that they're a good football team. They've got speed, they've got size, they've got athleticism. That's pretty much it. But that wasn't a surprise. We kind of knew that before the season started. So I think the bottom line for us is that, we want to be as good as we can be as well. I think we've got size, we've got speed, we've got some athleticism as well. So I'm looking forward to this being a good matchup.
Troy.
Real quick before I ask what I want to ask here, anything from a health and availability standpoint, any updates there? I know Branson Bragg, last time we checked, was questionable for this week. Anything new there or anywhere else on that front?
Nothing new there. We'll see the next couple of days if Branson's going to be available. If not, I'll definitely let everybody know by the end of the week. I don't believe in keeping those things secret. So right. If he can go, great. If he can't go, then we'll let everybody know.
Okay. One guy who's coming back to the Pac-12, their defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch, and you guys had some great chess matches when Grinch was up at Washington State. What are some things that Alex Grinch's defenses tend to bring to the table, and any similarities and differences that you've noticed just on one game of tape, pretty much, from what Alex has done with this USC defense so far?
Yeah, some similarities to what he did at Washington State. And of course, we watched a bunch of Oklahoma. Some of the principles are the same. The bottom line is his defense makes everything difficult, right? They just want to make it hard for you to block guys, hard for you by getting an extra defender in the run game, being in press coverage or roll coverage, late rotations during the course of the right before the play or right as soon as the play starts, just to, I wouldn't say confuse the quarterback, but if you think it's one thing and it ends up being another. So that's a lot of movement, a lot that you really have to be pre-snap conscious, but then also post-snap conscious from the quarterback position. So the defense is really, really predicated on playing fast and making it tough on offenses to be efficient.
Jackson.
Coach, you touched on the transfer topic pretty in depth, but I was curious from your perspective, from a team that was limited to just one transfer to taking on a team that has so many of them from one season to the next, just what it's been like to prepare for them and kind of see what has changed with the portal to this extreme.
Yeah. So for me, and most of you understand, where I am and kind of what we do, don't really worry about what anybody else does. We have a different mode here that we can still recruit high caliber athletes. I mean, still had the best recruiting class in the conference last year, with high academic standards. And our program, we don't look to the transfer portal. We believe in bringing in freshmen and developing them, and some will play early and some don't play until their sophomore year. Some play a little bit later, but really getting them involved in our program and seeing the fruits of their labor as they become upperclassmen. And at the same time, them getting a world-class Stanford degree. So that's our process, and other people can do it different ways, and a lot of different ways work. But it's not feasible for us to have that much turnover, especially with the emphasis that we put on getting the Stanford education. So but we're going to take a bunch of freshmen. We now have early enrollment, so we can take some of those guys early, which is great. Our early enrollees all played a lot, played big portions of the game this past week, excuse me. But yeah, our mode is going to be different than other people's, and I like the way we do things.
John?
Bigger picture question, Coach, and this may be more apropos to next year than this year, and I don't mean this to lead you down the road of realignment, but Stanford USC rivalry. All these teams have distinct, as one of the reasons we love college football is because Team X and Team Y and Team Z aren't all the same, but they have histories, they have distinctive elements. What do you think of when you think of the Stanford USC rivalry? Well,
I always remind people that we've been playing USC longer than we've been playing Cal. So it's our longest rival. And regardless of conference realignment, I hope that continues. Our alumni love the competition. The year-to-year clashing of different styles, I think plays well. I think we've had a lot of exciting games, really, especially over the time that I've been here. Exciting games that have gone both ways. A lot of great players in those games. So my hope and wish is that this rivalry continues regardless of conference affiliation.
Ben?
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I was wondering, how do you feel? I mean, it's been going on for a while now, as far as I can remember, but just the thoughts of having a rivalry game this early in the season. Usually rivalry games are later. Just thoughts on the timing of the USC Stanford game, usually coming in like week 2. Just thoughts on, does it help guys to get an early jump on a rivalry game, do you think?
As you said, it's been going on for a while now. We're kind of used to it. I think it's great for the off season because there's going to be a rivalry game early for us. People around our program understand this too, that we have so many rivals, right? And USC is a rival, UCLA is a rival, those are our Southern California rivals. Cal's, of course, a rival. Notre Dame's a rival. For years, us and Oregon have been rivals, going back and forth between being Pac-12 champions. So there's a large portion of our entire schedule feels like rivalry games. So the fact that we start this one early, we're kind of used to it. And once again, those have been exciting games as well.
Steve?
Yeah, Coach, going back to transferring, but specifically, you guys don't have a lot of people who transfer out. And when you do, back in the old days, that you would have to transfer outside of a conference. So you wouldn't necessarily coach against someone you coached, but you will be coaching against Austin Jones this Saturday. How does that dynamic work? Have you, I would imagine maybe you've done it a couple times in the past. How does that dynamic work for you?
It's, as you said, it's a different world now. And I don't think it really affects us or Austin. I know there'll be a lot of guys that want to go shake his hand before the game and after the game. But we all know between the lines, he's going to compete like crazy because we know him and he knows us. We're going to compete like crazy. But it's just part of what's going to be now. We took Brendan Scarlett, right, who's a transfer from Cal, which nobody thought would ever happen as a grad transfer. So and I think all sides handle that well. So this is just going to be part of life going forward in college sports.
Right.
Thank you.
let's hop in the Wayback Machine for a moment or so to 10 years, the 2012 game when USC came up to Stanford, ranked number 2 in the country. But Stanford got a couple of big touchdown runs from Stephon Taylor. Zach Ertz, I believe, got a big touchdown late, and Stanford won that one 21-14 and derailed a lot of what USC hoped to do that year. Well, what do you remember from that particular game 10 years ago?
I remember the week of practice, Stephon Taylor being just a different animal. And whatever group of highly respected individuals that have ever been here, Stephon Taylor is in that group. His consistency, his work ethic, his all-time leading rusher. I mean, the only guy that to rush for 3,000 yard seasons back to back to back. But was always a consistent guy. That year in particular, and that game in particular, he became a big play running back. I think one was a screen he took to the house, another was a long run he took to the house. His pass protection was outstanding. So that's what I remember about that team and him in particular, that he was like, hey, I'm going to show up, I'm going to play great, and I want you guys to play great with me. That's what I remember about that time.
Jackson?
Coach, what did the film say about some of your freshmen like David Bailey and Jackson Moy and Mudia Rubin? And how does it potentially impact their role, or maybe more so moving forward?
Yeah, well, I mean, Sam Roush made one of the hits of the game on that kickoff cover. It was great to see him out there. Mudia ran a nice comeback route and then caught a touchdown pass, which was great to see. David Bailey got a lot of snaps, didn't get a lot of statistics, but played well. Jackson Moy came in and made some splash plays. Once again, not a lot of statistics there, but pressure on the quarterback twice, made a big, got a lot of penetration on an outside run that forced the ball carrier back, another penetration on a sprint out that quarterback forced the quarterback back. So I'm really excited about this freshman class, and really over time, I think there might be a few more guys in this class that get some more playing time as well as the season progresses. So just nice to have that four game section to play with. So some guys will play early and some guys will play in the middle and some guys may play at the end.
Ben.
Yeah, just on Michael Wilson, just how nice was it to see him get a touchdown in that game on Saturday, knowing how much he's kind of gone through, and just how nice it is to see him back and kind of back to his old self this early in the season after what he's gone through.
Yeah, for me, it's hard to separate the two. I mean, Michael Wilson, to see him go out there and after the issues he had to sky up and get that touchdown pass was amazing. But to watch him block and run routes and make catches, and then watch Bryson Tremaine also after last year, what he went through in his offseason, coming back and watching him being Bryson Tremaine again, making those big catches down the sideline. Nice catch and run on a little receiver screen too, was great. So those two guys that have been through so much are two of our leaders, and to watch them go out there and perform at a high level was great to see.
Peter.
You have Andrew Luck coming back to be honored at this game and also starting a master's program at Stanford. Has he been in and around the program at all? And is it possible he'd ever have a future on the coaching staff with the Cardinal?
Andrew is overqualified to coach football. Yeah, I'm excited to honor him. We also have a class of women going into the Stanford Athletics Hall of Fame, which is awesome. For me, headlined by Tara Vanderveer, who's just a superstar, and Nneka Gwumike, she'll be around our program as well, which is so awesome. But yeah, this is a big weekend for honoring some of our all-time greats, and I'm excited about honoring Andrew, and we'll honor him again later in the season when he goes into the Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame. Just such a special person, such a special player, and glad he's going to be around to be honored this weekend.
We have time for two more, starting with Troy.
Past performance obviously does not guarantee future results, but that being said, it seems like a lot of people don't realize and are surprised when they find out that Stanford has beaten USC 10 of the last 16 meetings between these two teams. What does that tidbit mean to you? What does it say to you?
It says that we've been good. We did not have a good year last year. People forget 2020, we finished the season on a 4-game swing, and it would have been great to see if we played 12 games that year, because I thought we could have been one of the better teams in America that year. So I think two of the last 3 years have not been up to par for us, but at the same time, we've been a good program for years. The past decade, we're a top 10 winning program. So, we don't always do the best job of self-promoting, so that a lot of people know those facts outside of our campus. But that's just the truth. So, the fact that we have winning records against multiple programs is just part of being a good football program. So, we've been that, and we're only trying to improve.
Last question for Coach will be from Dave.
Yeah, hi, Coach. You just mentioned about NECA and Tara. Are you planning on having either one or somebody else address the team this weekend?
Yeah, NECA Gumake will address the team this weekend. Just an all-time basketball player, all-time competitor. She's been an amazing WNBA player as well. But even off the field, the players union rep, she's just done so many great things. And she's someone that we should all look up to, both on our campus and around, and point to and say, this is who we should all aspire to be like. She's a positive influence in everything that she does. She speaks for herself, but she can also speak for athletes. She can speak for humanity. And I just think she's a wonderful, wonderful person. And I'm excited for our team to hear from her.
Thank you, Coach. We'll be back in a couple minutes with two players. All right, we are joined by senior defensive back Jonathan McGill. We will open it up for questions. Ben.
Hey, John, hope you're doing well. Just want to get your thoughts on playing in the USC Stanford game this year after missing it last year. Just how are you feeling from that standpoint of being able to suit up in this game as opposed to being on the sidelines?
Yeah, this is actually going to be my first time playing SC since my freshman year. Freshman year, I kind of just ran down on kickoff. It was week 2, pretty early. Got a chance to go in the last drive of the game. I was at the Coliseum. So I'm real excited for this upcoming matchup. Obviously, love playing, in big time games. And just definitely can't wait for the opportunity to just go out there and compete with my guys against, USC and, what is, in my opinion, one of our biggest rivals that we have.
RJ.
Hey, Jonathan, just wondering your thoughts of the USC offense, what you've seen on film, and kind of what stands out about a Lincoln Riley offense to you as a defensive back?
I'll say something about Coach Riley is definitely how unique he is. He's really a game plan type of outfit. So, the more games you watch on film, the more you kind of see what they had going into that specific game. One thing he always does, though, regardless of who they're playing, is he wants to give their playmakers the ball in space. So as a defensive back, understanding that, their receivers are, really good, and, their offense in general is really dynamic and high powering and explosive. And so, that's just something that we're preparing for, being able to, play in open field, play, in space, and, being able to guard and compete against guys in open space. So Coach Riley does a great job of, finding unique ways to get his players the ball. And so that's just something as a defense, we're very looking forward to the challenge.
How much of what he does challenges your eye discipline? And how much of that does he do maybe at your level and also maybe at the linebacker level?
Yeah, so going off of last year, I know against Oklahoma State, Texas, and a couple other teams from, their film last season, they really do a lot of like Y hide and, S hide. And if you don't know what that is, pretty much they block the tight end for about, 3, maybe even 4 seconds, and then they'll leak them out or run them on a wheel on the backside, clearing out the zone on one side and then just running them back with a long play action, long developing play. And so what it does is, it teaches you not to play slower, but to play with more eye discipline, really challenges your eyes he does a lot of not really deceiving, but if you're not locked in, it's more deceiving type of offense. But it's something that the defense and we've been preparing for. Our offense kind of does a little bit of it in training camp as well, and so our eye discipline is something that we're definitely gonna have to work on for this upcoming week.
And just last for me, how helpful has Patrick Fields been this week?
Yeah, Pat's huge, definitely, going, being in that scheme or being in the defense, going against them guys in spring ball and in training camp. He's definitely, been a help. Also, kind of giving us, just some, little tendencies and, tips and tricks of, what he has experienced in the past, knowing that, obviously USC knows that Patrick Fields is on Stanford, and so they might try to break tendencies with a certain couple of things. So we're taking everything Pat tells us with a grain of salt. But, at the end of the day, it's going to be a game plan outfit. So, we'll see throughout the course of the game kind of how it shakes out and what we feel is going on.
Yeah, hi, John. Just the idea of missing a lot of last season. I know that you even attended some coaches meetings and really tried to really gather a lot of knowledge, beyond just what you're doing on the field. And I'm just wondering how much has that helped you having that different perspective, and maybe, are you a better player because, in a weird way that you had that time away and were able to see the game differently?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say it definitely helped me out in terms of, understanding film and kind of learning to more when I was a player. I guess my freshman and sophomore year, I was kind of more catering against the players, where now I'm kind of trying to game plan against the coaches as well. I kind of have trying to use that hat and understanding what a coach wants to do compared to what players are trying to get me to do and manipulate me to do. And so, the coaches are the ones calling the plays. So trying to get tendencies on coaches, trying to understand what their favorite call is, their favorite personnel, all those things were something I wasn't necessarily thinking of last season or 2 seasons ago when I was able to play. But, this year is definitely something that I've been trying to increase my game on. And I'm definitely a better player post-injury than I was pre-injury.
Peter.
Riley comes from Mike Leach's air raid system, played behind Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech. What types of sort of passing concepts have you seen most often on film, whether that's mesh or sort of or general air raid concepts?
Yeah, they do run a lot of mesh. The first thing that kind of comes to mind is, Coach Riley's patented screen play that he runs a lot. He takes, some guys from the field or to the boundary, runs them across the line of scrimmage, and then brings them all the way back behind the line of scrimmage. So the receivers on the front side can actually block downfield, and it's not, pass interference or anything like that. Coach Aquino was telling me that was something that Texas Tech actually used to do when he was at Texas a long time ago, going against, Wes Welker and those type of guys. So he definitely takes some of, those concepts from the air raid, definitely takes some kind of run and shoot principles as well. The receivers and the quarterback are really on the same page when it comes to scramble drill. And, if a safety's high, they'll cut it across your face. If you're low, they'll take it high. So, kind of run and shoot principles, air raid, definitely see some tendencies that we saw against Washington State when Mike Leach was there my freshman year. And so definitely some things definitely carry over in that system.
Ben.
Yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on facing a former teammate in Austin Jones. How fun, weird is that going to be? It might be a situation where you put the wood on him and pop him. Just thoughts on going up against a former teammate in a USC Stanford game.
Yeah, no, Austin's my guy. Obviously, knew him before we came in, got really close during recruiting. And, once we was here, we were, best friends. So obviously, when it comes down to it, we both are very competitive. And he knows that, we going to bring it as hard as we can. We all know that Austin's going to do what Austin wants to, or he's going to, bring it as much as he can, competitive, fiery. So, we can't wait for the challenge. We're brothers outside of the white lines, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes down to it on Saturday, when the whistle blows, he's definitely going to feel us. And he knows that, and can't wait for this upcoming matchup. And definitely just being able to, just talk to him after the game, but, during the game is war.
Steve.
Yeah, Coach mentioned, how in a sense, unique is supposed to be just only one thing, but you know what I'm saying, that Caleb Williams, some quarterbacks are pretty damn good drop back passers, but they're not necessarily great scrambling. Some are pretty good on the run, but not necessarily good drop back passers. Williams is one of the few guys who does it both, seemingly. So one, what does that do for your mindset? And two, is there anybody against whom you've already played who you'd say, that quarterback is fairly similar to Caleb Williams?
That's a tough one. I would say, I didn't play last season, but Cam Rising is a really good quarterback in terms of being as dynamic. He's not as fast as Caleb Williams is, but in terms of being able to stretch the play, being able to, okay, everybody's in man coverage, the defense's back are to me. Cam Rising actually showed that dynamic ability in the Rose Bowl a lot. I know that he ran for, he has a unique way of extending plays. And also he has a very talented arm. I would say, I guess that would be the quarterback that's most similar, in my opinion, that we faced in the past. But, Caleb is, obviously a reason why he's talked about as one of the best players in America. You see it on film. He's dynamic. He has arm talent. He can extend the play. He throws the ball deep. He has a really good deep ball. And, he's a very great scrambler. And when he gets outside the pocket, he's not trying to slide. He's not trying to get down. He's trying to score a touchdown. And so that's definitely something that, as a defense, when he does run the ball, we're going to have to treat him like a running back. And, when he does pass the ball, obviously play the ball in the air, make good plays, 50-50 balls we got to come down with. And so, we're really excited for the challenge and can't wait for this weekend.
Thank you. With Jonathan, starting with RJ. I guess we'll move on to Jackson.
I was curious about just the dynamic of having you and Kendall and Patrick all on the field, how that kind of worked itself out in camp. Was it some tinkering that had to be done there, or did it go pretty smoothly right off the bat? And just how did you feel it played out in the first game together?
Yeah, I feel like it played out really well. Going into camp, we kind of all felt that, we all needed, or we know the secondary is very, very deep. And so, it was ultimately Coach Akina's decision into who he put out there. But, no matter who he put out there, we all felt that, no matter who it is, we all have the chemistry. We all want to win. And that's the main goal. And so I felt like it played out really well. Patrick did a great job in his first game, understanding his assignment. He's played a lot of football. So I wasn't too worried about him mentally or physically at all. I had the utmost confidence in him. Kendall getting his first interception, that was something that all of us was really, really excited about in the back end. He's put in so much effort, so much work, and to see it finally pay off was something that was great for him. And so, yeah, we're just having fun back there. We're just trying to make this defense, energetic, live, just trying to have fun out there and just, be one of the best units in America. And in the secondary, we're definitely trying to be the best secondary that we can be.
All right, we'll end it there with Jonathan. Thank you. We'll be back in a moment with Tanner McKee.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we are joined by junior quarterback. We'll open it up for questions. Ben.
Hey, Tanner, just want to get your thoughts on, going into your second start against USC. Anything that you can glean from last year's matchup with them? There's any extra confidence you can take knowing that you went into their house and beat them last year?
Yeah, it's definitely a new year. Can't dwell on the past. I definitely think that we can come in with confidence. More of the work that we put on the offseason rather than the fact that we beat them last year. So I feel like our team's going to come in really confident, very excited. It's USC week, so there's not much more to get excited about. But our guys are definitely ready to play the game.
RJ.
Hey, Tanner. USC has kind of certainly noticed how well you guys did on the perimeter last year, and with the size that you've got at receiver. I'm just curious from your perspective, is one-on-one essentially open in your mind? Like, are you just at this stage just pretty much trusting your guys?
Absolutely. If we can find a one-on-one matchup, that is all we're looking for. The guys that we have at receiver, if they're willing to give us one-on-one matchups and play one-on-one football, and then we'll take that all day. I mean, our guys with Bryson, Elijah, John, Mike, Ben, all those guys can make plays on one-on-one matchups. So that's definitely something that we would really look forward to.
And then Alex Grinch's defenses are kind of known for a lot of movement up front, a lot of upfront looks. How much do they switch up on the back end? How varied do they tend to be? What have you seen from them on film?
Yeah, I think they're very good at disguising what they're going to bring. I wouldn't say like their front four mix up a ton. Their back end, they're very good at not knowing when they're going to go to too high or bring the boundary safety down. So we're just going to have to play it out, read it post snap, and see how they play. You can't really guess what they're going to do because they don't give too many tells. But we're just going to have to read it post snap and go on the fly.
And then just one last thing that I asked Jonathan, has Patrick Fields been any help to you guys on the offensive side of the ball?
Yeah, definitely. We've been asking him about just different tendencies, and it's funny because some of the film that we watch is on OU and Pat's out there running the defense. And so like, oh, what are you seeing on this play or things like that? So I think it's definitely been helped. There's obviously going to be things that are different. There's going to be different wrinkles. And so we're not 100% everything that Pat says is exactly what they're going to do, but just give us an idea of kind of what they're looking for, their tendencies, what they like to do on gotta have it situations, like on third down and different things like that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanner.
Peter.
A couple times against Colgate where it felt like they're playing off coverage and maybe made an adjustment to just throw something quick backside on a little hitch or whatnot. What do you have in terms of, pre-play adjustments off what the opponent's showing you?
I mean, it kind of depends on the play. There are a few times in Colgate had to throw hot, get the ball out of my hand because there's a guy coming free, or just taking what the defense gives us. If they are going to play, 10 yards off, then we'll take a 6-yard route. We'll take an 8-yard gain. And so just taking what the defense gives us and playing it by ear, marching down the field. If they're not going to give us those big shots, then we'll be totally happy with 8-yard gains at a time, and we'll march down the field.
Sort of to that end, what types of coverages do you expect USC to be playing primarily, given what you have outside?
Honestly, they're going to run a ton of different stuff. I mean, we've seen what they ran last week against Rice. We have all our percentages and our cut-ups and stuff like that, but I could see them changing it for us, or they could do exactly what they did last week. So we're just going to kind of see, read it out as the game's going on, and then we'll get a better idea when the game's actually playing.
Troy.
Tanner, you're a Southern California guy yourself. What does it mean whenever you're looking at that opposite sideline and seeing the Trojans staring you right back at you in the face?
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, last year for me was surreal going into the Coliseum, kind of seeing all the different spots that I've sat at games, growing up an SC fan and everything like that. So it's obviously a lot of fun, a lot of emotions, a lot of juice playing the Trojans, just growing up, having Reggie Bush posters in my room and things like that. So very excited for this game, and just being a Southern California guy, I feel like I know a lot of guys on the team, and so really excited to play against them as well.
Steve.
Yeah, Tanner, in baseball, a lot of times when you get marquee pitchers going against each other, one pitcher might say, you know what, I'm not pitching against him, whether I'm pitching against John Doe or John Smith, it makes no difference to me. And then some pitchers will say, you know what, hey, this is pretty pumping for me. I get energized by seeing how good the other guy is. You're not playing against Caleb Williams, but you certainly know how good he is. Does the quarterback matchup make any difference to you or not?
I would say for me personally, it doesn't. Our standards is our standard, so it doesn't matter if we're playing Colgate or USC or Oregon or anybody that we're going to play this year. Our standards are standard, and we're going to go out and execute at the highest level. So And honestly, kind of like what you're saying, I'm never going to be on the field at the same time as him. But I mean, we're all competitive, so we all see what the other guy's doing. And honestly, at the end of the game, you just want to win the game. So for me, that's going to be the biggest thing. Stats and all that, I don't really get caught up in how many yards or touchdowns or anything like that. But overall, if we can win the game, that's good enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, just want to get your thoughts on Benjamin Urosic. He had 1 catch for 1 yard last game. Obviously, I'm guessing you want to see more out of him against USC. Just what do you think accounted for that? And is that something you guys have talked about, a little bit more concerted effort this time to get him going, or just thoughts on that happened last week and what can change for this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what's great, and that's quote unquote problem of having so many good receivers. I think we spread out the ball so many times. I think we had 8 different guys catch footballs last week. So everyone's able to get open. We're really taking what the defense gives us. If they're going to double team a guy, it's not like we have to go to him because the other guys aren't going to be open versus one-on-one coverage. So Colgate's game plan was to pack the middle, have the backside safety key on number 3. And so there were a lot of times where Ben was double covered or not open. And so we went to a different receiver and it was totally fine. And Ben's the man. So he understands that. He knows that he's going to have a great season and we're going to find him because of how good of an athlete he is. So it's just going to be game to game adjustments, taking what the defense gives us. We're not going to try to force the ball into someone's hand if the defense isn't giving it to us.
Jackson?
In reflecting on your personal performance, just what felt more comfortable or most improved compared to where you were at last year?
I mean, I feel like with confidence and repetition, everything feels a lot slower. And so just having another year under my belt, knowing the calls, knowing the different adjustments that we can make, the game slows down. And so that's huge, obviously, for being a quarterback, being able to see things pre-snap, post-snap, and kind of anticipate what's going to happen, I think is really big. So for me personally, that's probably the biggest step that I've been able to make.
Troy?
Big stage here coming up. ABC sending their Saturday Night Football crew. Herb Street's going to be in the house. Reese Davis on the call, high-profile opponent. Given all that, what's at stake for the Stanford squad this week? And what are some of the things that you guys want to show and have folks, when they turn off their TVs or walk out of the stadium on Saturday, saying about Stanford football?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. This whole offseason, we've been practicing with a chip on our shoulder, ready to prove that we weren't what we showed last year and that we're ready to kind of show off all the hard work that we've put in the offseason. So I wouldn't say the TV gives us more. I wouldn't say it changes the emotions because we're going to play how we're going to play and we're going to have our expectations and we're going to play to the best of our ability. I mean, you can't even see the TV, so it's not even really part of football. Everything's inside the lines. So for us, it's not really going to change much as far as that perspective, but we're just very ready and very excited for another opportunity to compete, no matter who it's against or what TV channel it's on. We're ready to play some football.
Are there any more questions for Tanner? All right, we'll cut it there. Thank you.